It looks like that the Ben Simmons Philadelphia 76ers experiment is going to end ugly.
Well, I'm disappointed in Ben Simmons. When you give somebody $200 million to dribble a stupid basketball, and the only thing you ask them is be better as a player, and their first response is, I don't want to play here anymore. That disappoints me as a player. It disappoints me as a fan. They're not saying, hey, come over here and cut my grass. They're saying, Ben, we need you to learn how to shoot the basketball.
I have G14 classification to say what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And so does Charles Barkley. Ben Simmons, you're not that good. And then in this league, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? You're not great. But if you want to get to that next level, you have to be great. And to be great, you have to work on your game. Don't be putting pictures on your Instagram or your Ferrari or what actress you're hanging around with. When you play for a town like Philadelphia, Boston, LA, Miami, hard-working town, they don't give a shit about none of that. They want you to come, work hard, and play hard. I was at that game 6 when that man didn't even look at the basket. And I know as a player, first thing I do is I look in the player's eyes. That man was out there terrified. Not terrified of playing, but terrified of being fouled and missing free throws. Forget all that.
What's crazy, when you see the videos that he put up, he's making those shots that he didn't take. Like
he's making them,
hey,
yes.
Spice, I live in Philadelphia during the summer. This is the 3rd year in a row they put up them bullshit jump shots during the summer. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe anymore.
You know, a lot of these people, you hear from your followers how good you are, how great you are, but you're hearing from some OGs right now. You ain't that damn good. And I said it, and I said what I said, and Chuck said what he said. If you don't like it, do what you got to do. But you ain't that damn good.
The Ben Simmons situation is getting completely out of hand. I mean, he's saying things to the Philadelphia 76ers that I don't think any player has ever said to their front office before. And I think he's backing himself up into a little bit of a corner over here. And I'll tell you what I mean in just a sec. Just before we get to it, take a moment to subscribe, turn on our notifications, and leave a like on this video. And of course, NBA 2K22 comes out tonight at midnight. So if you want a chance to win multiple free copies, all you have to do is follow your boy on Instagram and Twitter. Now that we got all of that out of the way, cue the intro.
What changes for Danny Green to not have Ben Simmons as the guy orchestrating out there and pushing it on the break and everything, breaking down defense and getting you open threes?
It's going to be tough to say, man, because we don't know what we're going to get back from him. We may get a point guard, we may get wings. That may change a lot. I might be playing with a different type of point guard. I might be playing with a different type of wings. I might be coming off the bench. I don't know who we're going to get. And also defensively, I probably become the primary defender. I'm not saying it's an issue or a problem for me, but we have one less wing of a defender with him. Now it's me and Matisse. We're not saying other guys don't play defense, but you talk about our main defenders. Ben was a big part of that and a big part of our defense. Obviously, Tobias has kicked it up notch and been amazing defensively for us. But Ben was, DPOY for us this year. And my vote, everybody voting our team, of course, we thought he deservingly so should have been Defensive Player of the Year. No disrespect to, Rudy Gobert. He had a great year always, every last 3 years. But we thought Ben was able to guard 1 through 5 and set the tone for us. When he's gone, so that changes a lot for not just offensively, but defensively as well for me. It depends on what we get back in return.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This situation is something like I've never seen before, and it has to do mainly with the fact that Ben Simmons seems to be completely out of touch with reality in regards to how the business side of the NBA works. And what I mean by that is, now at this point, if you guys have been following along on this channel, you'd know that Ben Simmons is extremely disgruntled with the Philadelphia 76ers. This stems from the meltdown they had in the Eastern Conference semifinals in a year that I think they were actually poised to potentially make a run to the NBA Finals, considering what eventually would happen to the Brooklyn Nets. And a lot of the blame got shifted onto Ben Simmons. Now, look, I wanted to let you guys know, of course, I am a huge Ben Simmons critic. I do think his game hasn't evolved at all since entering the league. I do think that he just needs to finally shoot some three-pointers, even if it means he's going to hit 20% or 25% from three. And I do believe a huge reason why the Philadelphia 76ers have been stagnating lately is because of Ben Simmons. But at the same time, I don't think a good organization ever points the blame finger at any of their players like the way that the Philadelphia 76ers did on Ben Simmons. Whenever a player goes through a bad night to the point where he's so scared of shooting free throws that he doesn't want to dunk the basketball, yeah, on one hand, you should be frustrated because you're in the playoffs again and it seems like it's the same issue repeating itself over and over again. But at the same time, your head coach shouldn't go on TV and say that he doesn't know whether or not Ben Simmons is good enough to be a championship caliber point guard. That's just not the way to handle matters.
Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become.
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now, so I don't know the answer to that.
Now look, when I was in Italy, I was actually supposed to come out with a video on this, but unfortunately the audio quality was horrific and I couldn't give you guys all the information, and I'm actually really bummed out about this because I felt like I made you guys such a beautiful video and I just laid out all the information beautifully, but unfortunately the audio got messed up. So I'm going to tell you what's been going on lately with the Ben Simmons situation and how it's really erupting into something that is getting very ugly. So the fact that Ben Simmons is willing to sit out of training camp is nothing new. As a matter of fact, we got to credit the individual that we originally got this information from a while back, Jake Fisher, in an AHN digital article. So on July 26, 2021, the very first person to mention this information, Jake Fisher, came out and said that the Sixers haven't even been able to really get in touch with Ben Simmons since the season ended. They had this intention to have a workout plan or whatever, which is standard for the NBA, but Ben Simmons just wasn't picking up the phone. Eventually, this evolved a little bit. In the beginning of August, about a month ago, we got this information that Ben Simmons is not answering any phone calls, has gone ghost on the Philadelphia 76ers, and is not going to report to training camp until he gets traded, essentially demanding a trade. Now, here's where things get really strange, because I honestly think Ben Simmons, with all due respect to him, is a little bit delusional about his current situation. He came out about 10 days ago and said that he refuses to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, which is pretty much implied at this point, but he wants to go to 3 California teams, which means there's 4 California teams, mind you, which means he wants to either play for the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Los Angeles Lakers, or the Sacramento Kings. And he's being very vague, so it's really hard to know which one of those teams he doesn't want to play for, but you could literally cancel out like 3 of those teams. In the Los Angeles Lakers case, they recently acquired Russell Westbrook, who is on a super max contract. He's getting paid more than LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are on maximum contracts, and the Lakers are pretty much as capped out can be. They have so many players on veteran minimum contracts as a result of this. There's no way, shape, or form that a trade for Ben Simmons would work out, unless if the Lakers decide to somehow trade Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons, which, with respect to Russell Westbrook, not only do I think this can't happen, but on top of that, Russell Westbrook pretty much comes with the same type of issues that Ben Simmons has, where he's a fantastic slasher, a great playmaker, great rebounder, but he struggles at shooting the basketball, although not as much as Ben Simmons does. Then you have the Los Angeles Clippers, who have a remarkable core with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but this is a team that is so devoid of assets and is so strapped for salary cap that, with all due respect to the Clippers, I'm surprised that Kawhi Leonard decided to come back. This is a team that doesn't have any draft capital to trade for Ben Simmons. They have Marcus Morris and Luke Kennard each signed to $16 million contracts, and as a matter of fact, this organization is so horrible with asset management that they traded their best contract, Lou Williams, for a player that is currently on the Los Angeles Lakers, Rajon Rondo. Then you have the Golden State Warriors, which is a little bit more complicated because the Warriors not only provide the best opportunity for a championship for Ben Simmons, but also have the best assets to offer in return for Ben Simmons. They just drafted Jonathan Kuminga with the 7th overall pick in the NBA draft, and they drafted Moses Moody with the 14th pick in the NBA draft. Both of these players selected in the lottery, both of these players can contribute to the Philadelphia 76ers. On top of that, they have players like James Wiseman, they have Andrew Wiggins that can match Ben Simmons' contract, and Ben Simmons could fit in a starting lineup with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, although he's not really the most remarkable shooter. And as a matter of fact, the Golden State Warriors held extensive conversations in regards to potentially trading for Ben Simmons, but the problem is they feel like Ben Simmons and Draymond Green don't fit on a court together, and as a matter of fact, they are extremely correct in that regard. Draymond Green and Ben Simmons would be a horrific fit on the Golden State Warriors together. player. In terms of role, in terms of spacing, Ben Simmons and Draymond Green essentially do the same thing. Although I consider Draymond to be more of the heart and soul of the Golden State Warriors and the vocal leader of the Golden State Warriors, whereas Ben Simmons isn't really much of that, but he has tremendous athletic ability and is a remarkable playmaker in the open court. And believe it or not, the Philadelphia 76ers actually attempted to trade Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors, and in return, they wanted 2 lottery draft picks, which was at the time the number 7 and the number 14th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and 2 future NBA draft picks as well. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors declined that trade, so that leaves the Sacramento Kings, which I believe are probably the best team that could potentially trade for Ben Simmons realistically, but this is a team that could give up Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, that isn't really willing to give up De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Halliburton, as according to Jay Anderson of the Sac B, the Kings are unlikely to part with either player, but they can offer Buddy Hield, and I'm assuming Marvin Bagley's on the table as well. But what's strange about this entire situation is Ben Simmons is so mad at the Philadelphia 76ers that he's willing to go to teams, with all due respect to these teams, that are notorious for having fairly dysfunctional front offices. I mean, the Sacramento Kings are by far the worst organization in all of basketball, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, if it wasn't for LeBron James, are probably the most cursed franchise in all of basketball, save for LeBron James, when he led them to an NBA championship. Then there was this report on September 1st that the Sixers reportedly had to pick between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, saying that the Ben Simmons rift with Joel Embiid has been escalating, and Joel Embiid quote tweeted this, saying that it's bogus and he would love for Ben Simmons to come back, and that this piece in particular was fake news. So this culminates in Ben Simmons reportedly telling the Philadelphia 76ers that he will not report to training camp if they haven't traded him to another team by that time. Now, holding out is a very popular thing to do in the NFL, and it's a little bit more effective to do in the NFL, but in Ben Simmons' situation, I don't know if this is a game of chicken that he's going to win. Like Jimmy Butler did something close to this in 2018 with the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he was really upset that his contract was not renegotiated during the offseason, and he believed that the team around him wasn't necessarily a championship contender. But this was different because the Timberwolves gave him permission to miss media day and the early part of training camp, so the Minnesota Timberwolves culture wouldn't get too toxic, and ultimately this culminated in Jimmy Butler coming in and into a game of practice, completely carving up the Minnesota Timberwolves and looking at the general manager and screaming, "Yeah, you need me." Now, in regards to the Ben Simmons situation, what would happen if he does miss training camp? Well, if the Philadelphia 76ers opt to suspend Ben Simmons for not attending training camp, he could forfeit about $227,000 for every practicing game that he misses. The Philadelphia 76ers could also take a different approach, where they fine him $2,500 for the first missed practice, $5,000 for the second missed practice, and $7,500 for the third missed practice. So the current issue that the Philadelphia 76ers are having is this is one of their franchise cornerstones, and unfortunately no team agrees on Ben Simmons' evaluation with the Philadelphia 76ers. And here's where it gets crazy. Ben Simmons actually approached the Philadelphia 76ers, but apparently a message that Ben Simmons has sent back to the Philadelphia 76ers, according to Brian Windhorst, is that it's not his job to fix his trade value or to raise his trade value, and that's not something that's on the menu for him. With that out there, I don't think he's interested in coming in and trying to change the situation. Now, Windhorst also mentions that his contract is structured in a way that he's going to get half of his money by October 1st, and $16.5 million of his $33 million comes before he has to worry about getting fined any money. So pretty much he could just sit this one out. At this point, I think the most likely team to potentially trade for Ben Simmons will be the Minnesota Timberwolves, because he has history with D'Angelo Russell, maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I don't know why he would want to go to those teams instead of staying and working it out in Philadelphia. So now we're at a point where Ben Simmons is simply not attending training camp. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about all this? Where do you think Ben Simmons is going to end up going? And who are you pointing the blame finger at? I think this is the Philadelphia 76ers fault, because they just really didn't manage this situation properly. You don't typically want to let a player know that he's about to be traded. You don't want to be so open about your intentions. And as a result, Ben Simmons' trade value absolutely plummeted. Doc Rivers gave NBA media something to bite on, and they just ran away with it. And as as a result, Ben Simmons has been alienated. But that's my take on the situation. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.